I know it's hard to believe, at least it is for me, but the year 2024 is about to end. They're just a couple of weeks away from the end of this month and the end of this year. And I think it's appropriate to kind of take a look back sometimes over the year and look at some of the highlights. Sometimes we deal with negatives during the year, but I think it's also good to look at some of the positives and some of the fun things, some of the cool things, and some of the exciting and sometimes once in a lifetime things that happened. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Having my cup of coffee. Yes, everybody can drink. Hey, welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. I'm Steve Glavan, and this is the show where we come together around our virtual coffee table each week and join the conversation to chat about interesting topics with amazing guests. If you're joining us for the first time today, welcome. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. We're going to have a great conversation today because I've got some team members here with me, so I'm going to actually bring them into the chat now so that they can be here. We've got you know these people because they've all been part of the show and on the show. But Chelan Shepherd is here. Hello, Chelan. Karissa Wheelock, and if I can get to the right place on my studio platform here because it's being goofy on me. You know,
well, that's fine because he's fairly goofy.
Here we go.
Yes, really.
I'll explain in a minute what's going on with the reason that I'm struggling. There's Christopher. Christopher Glavan. Hey guys, I'm glad that we can do this as a team today. This is fun. The reason I'm having trouble scrolling is that your mom, Carol, we're in Rhode Island right now. And this is actually, we'll talk about it in a minute. This is our final trip to Rhode Island that's planned anyway. And so Carol is getting some work done, but she's downstairs in the hotel and her mouse stopped working. And so she's borrowing my wireless mouse that I always bring with me when I travel, which means I'm trying to use the trackpad on my laptop. You know, everything is always weird when it's a travel time. So anyway, hey guys, how are you doing?
I like it that you play mom.
I'm going to, yeah.
She's not here, so.
And Christopher's having trouble with connection. So along the way, you know, if he just drops out, we'll bring him back. There's always going to be at least one person who's there's going to be issues when we do it live. You know, it's interesting because when we first started doing Coffee Breaks with Steve, all of the guest connections were done live. We didn't pre-record conversations. So if we had outside guests, there he goes, he'll be back. If we had guests that were joining us, look, he's back. We had guests who were joining us. We always counted on it on Saturdays while we were doing the show. We had to have a good connection. They had to show up. I think all of you remember times when we had guests who were like, well, we're waiting on the guests to show up, and they either just missed it completely, or they were like, later on, I'd see a message saying, hey, I forgot how to connect. You know, there's different things. So it's a little bit easier now because when we're pre-recording those conversations, those things still happen. It's just we have a little more latitude. It's like, you know, I spend the next 10 minutes finding them, and then we record. And then on Saturday, it's all seamless, and nobody knows about it. Who's on here today? I see Kathy Garlick, Rick Venturi, Jerry Thompson, Kim Baker is here. Who else? Who am I missing? You guys.
Good meowing and happy Catterday.
Good meowing, happy Catterday.
See, that's appropriate. There we go.
Good meowing.
Wow. Hey, I want to get to our conversation highlighting, but first there's some what, Chelan? What is this?
The charcuterie.
We have the charcuterie up, the sweet and savory. Hey, here's the first one for you. What do you think? What are your favorite holiday songs? Do you guys, any of you, have a favorite song when it comes on the radio, or you just have to play it, or it means the holiday season is underway?
First one to say Mariah Carey gets kicked.
I have new ones. I have new ones this year.
Because there's a group that you're following.
Yes, and they have Christmas music. Which one is my favorite? I am wearing my Christmas Evil shirt. So if you want fun holiday song or music video, Christmas Evil.
I wish I'd thought about wearing a holiday shirt today.
I wish you thought about that.
So what's your favorite song, Karissa? And is it something in Korean?
Yeah, so let's see. If I were to choose, I like their song. So it's Stray Kids, 24 to 25. So it's talking about going Christmas Eve to Christmas Day and being together for that. And it's just a really sweet kind of like it's a love song in a way, but it's also just like a friendship song. And it's part of it's in Korean and part of it is in English. So yeah, 24 to 25 by Stray Kids is probably one of my new favorites.
Chelan, what do you have a favorite holiday song that's like that? It means the holiday to you when you hear it.
I just want to, before I want to say regarding Mariah Carey, I have really appreciated the videos, the memes, the last couple of years of like, she's out feasting. It's time. You know?
Yes.
She has arrived. They're starting to defrost.
She has awakened.
Yeah.
Do I have, you know what? Dustin and I, and this sounds so pretentious, but it is genuinely true. We really enjoy finding like old cathedral sounding Christmas carols, medieval, Victorian, Gregorian chant kind of stuff. So we'll put with
the nice reverb actually recorded in a cathedral someplace.
Yeah. So O Come Emmanuel is a favorite here, and then the old timey carols that like they don't play on the radio.
Christopher, what about you? Obviously Mariah Carey.
Obviously.
I would kick the host.
Button.
No, so there's a version of O Come Emmanuel that I also very much like by the New York Voices.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I did not know that you knew any of their music.
Come on, son.
Of course, it's harmony. It's good harmony.
And then it's never Christmas for me without Carol of the Bells by the Muppets.
Oh, I forgot about
that. I like that. So what do you guys think what is probably the most popular, the best-selling Christmas song of all time?
I think wouldn't it be Mariah Carey?
It's either Mariah Carey or it's White Christmas.
I think it's White Christmas by Bing Crosby.
Or is there one? Oh, it is. Okay.
And this is the thing. I knew it used to be, but I didn't know if it had been.
It's still considered. It bumps around in terms of the top 5 in terms of what is most played on the radio, or when they do polls of people, what are the most popular. But it is still the best-selling worldwide Christmas holiday song, having sold over 100 million copies, and that's probably a low estimate, when you consider other play. I'm looking at some of Kim Baker's things on here. She had Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer and Santa Baby, and the thing is, it's kind of like talking about Mariah Carey. Sometimes people, it's so overplayed or it's so tacky or whatever. But here are some of the other top songs of all time. So White Christmas typically tops the list in terms of just because it's the best selling. Jingle Bells, which was actually originally written to be sung at Thanksgiving. If you think about the lyrics, even though it's talking about going through the snow and that kind of stuff, it's kind of like over the river and through the woods, right? It's that idea of going by sleigh to go somewhere for the Thanksgiving holiday. Yeah. Then All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. Now, some of these, and I'm again, it's a matter of personal taste, but some of these I go, really, they're not what I consider my favorites. Last Christmas by Wham.
Yeah, no.
You have to say it right.
I'm gonna run and wash my hands because now that I pet a cat, if I touch anything, I will explode. So I'll just hold on.
All right, we'll just look at your background as we do the charcuterie. Let's see. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas by Frank Sinatra. Santa Baby by Eartha Kitt. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. The Christmas Song by Nat King Cole. That's your mom's favorite. It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year by Andy Williams, Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano, and It Feels Like Christmas by the Muppets.
That's on the list.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That's
I love
exciting.
that
You know,
song.
and there are different lists. I mean, you can pull up different lists from different sources, and some of them, again, it depends on where they came up with that order or those particular songs. Was that based on a poll? Was that based on record sales? Was that based on how many times it was pulled up on different sites, etc.? So much can be streamed now. But anyway,
I would have thought for Muppets it would have been either the prayer song, which is so precious, or
12 Days.
The 'tis the season to be jolly and joyous.
We lost the host.
The host went away, so we get
The
to
host
talk
is
about
gone.
the Muppets.
Where did he
for the
go
rest
talk?
of it. Exciting.
Oh, he's back. He forgot.
I knocked myself out.
I love it. We were just gonna go on without you.
You're going to talk about the Muppets.
Fine.
Aunt Kathy
But-
would have been
And Kathy was
scandalized.
like, I'm leaving.
Goodness gracious! Not again. I'm using this trackpad, and I think it screws up certain things. So let's get back in here with where we were. I gotta love the fact, at least, that it didn't completely drop out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have almost thought 12 Days of Christmas by the Muppets with John
Yes.
Denver, which is
Yeah.
another one that you hear a lot. Anyway, well, listen, we do need to move along because we need to get to our topic shortly here.
Okay.
I wanted to mention I mentioned that we're in Providence, Rhode Island, and this has been, again, you can kind of talk about highlights of the year. This started, just as a bit of background, which I think many people already know, but Carol and I are retired, supposedly. That happened 3 years ago now, just about. And actually 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago for Carol. But in retirement, we both wanted to stay active, and so we both do contract work. And Carol has started a contract that was a 6-month contract to work with a hospital group in Providence, Rhode Island, and that started in August of 2023. It was supposed to wrap up by early spring this year, and it has really expanded. And so it has continued on, and she's actually wrapping up the contract during this visit. We'll be here for another week, and it's the end of that contract. And it's been back and forth to Providence, Rhode Island multiple times in the last almost year and a half. And the thing about it is it's kind of, we're kind of looking forward. Carol particularly is looking forward to kind of getting her life back and getting on a regular schedule, because even when she works from home, she has to be on East Coast time. And it's going to be a big change, and she's going to be able to actually, sleep until somewhere past 4 a.m. But it's also bittersweet because we've made a lot of connections here. I've got that nice sun streak right across the middle of my face.
I like it. It's like a tattoo. It's like a
Mad Max tattoo.
It's a lot like a tattoo. But
Mad Max.
There's a certain amount of this that's bittersweet because we made a lot of connections. There are staff members at the hotel that we stay at each time. There are wait staff at restaurants that we have frequented. When you go in someplace, it's kind of like being on Cheers, where everybody knows your name. That's literally become the case. And we're saying goodbye to people during this trip. It's been, coming back here every few weeks and really getting to know the area. And it's not to say we'll never come back to this region, but it's going to be a big change. And so I just wanted to give a shout out and say we have learned to really love Providence, Rhode Island and the surrounding area. And particularly, we've grown to love the people here. So I wanted to make mention of that today as we are finalizing our time here and our trips here. There's some birthdays in the next few weeks because we are getting close to the holiday season when we take a break. But I wanted to mention Rebecca Blair has a birthday coming up this week. December 18th is Rebecca's
Happy birthday, Rebecca.
So happy birthday to Rebecca. One of our adopted daughters, one of Chelan's college roommates who has stayed a very, very dear friend.
She managed to put up with us for
Who else has a birthday next week on the 18th? Carson has a birthday.
Happy birthday, Carson.
Isn't that a great picture of Carson? That says it all right there.
That's everything.
We had her first ballet recital last night. I'll have to send you the videos.
Oh my gosh, that's great too. And then Jerry Zetterval has a
Jerry!
birthday coming up on December 28th. Yes, that's a couple of weeks down the road, but we wanted to make sure we mention it and wished a happy birthday to Jerry. And coming
Happy birthday,
up as
Jerry.
we get into the first of the year, because we're not going to be back till the first of the year after today's show. January 3rd, Christy Sparks McKay, who's my cousin, is celebrating a birthday. And so very happy birthday to Christy as well. And
Happy birthday, Christy.
exactly. So if you have a special day coming up this week, please let us know in the chat. And so we can celebrate and acknowledge with you. If you have one coming up, perhaps going into the early part of next year, maybe you have a special day in the next 3 weeks or so, because we're going to be off for a while. Let us know. And we want to make sure that we get you on our calendar as well. All right, let's see if I can shut down the slides without knocking myself out of the broadcast.
If not, we'll just talk about you while you're not here.
That
It's
could
fine.
happen too. I need to reload slides that got knocked out of the mix.
Just for like, I'm done.
Yeah.
While you're
but
doing
we'll
that,
get them.
can you
Go
guys
ahead.
hear the frog outside my window?
No.
It's like freezing temperatures, and
cannot.
there's a frog.
Are you going
Okay.
to save it?
Can't hear a frog. Can
I
see
can't.
what looks like a frog over your shoulder there.
It's Kissy Missy.
All right. Hey,
Okay.
our topic
Christmas.
today, that's really bugging me.
Poor dad.
We're going to just
hard to do
adjust the
this and
curtain
not
a
your
little bit.
space.
Again,
The sun
hotel
is
room.
attracted to the lights on your shirt.
I guess that's the case.
Thank
Highlights for the year. We're going to talk about some of our own highlights, but I also want to encourage people who are tuned in today to think about your highlights. And the interesting thing is, I know some of them, at least mine, are going to overlap with some of the people who are tuned in today, I think. But how do we think, what do you think of when you think of highlights? I mean, you think of the things that are memory creating, experiences, key moments, changes, sometimes life events can be part of that, right? And so we were thinking about this over the last several days and kind of exchanging information. And I'm just wondering, I think that we can probably, Chelan, if you want to share, we're going to kind of go in age order here, which means I'm last, because guess what? Of the four of us on here, I'm the oldest. But
Sure.
Chelan, what were some of your key events and highlights of the year?
So first thing was in like April, Dustin and I suddenly went, they're going to raise our rent. Maybe we want something other than where we're at. And by May, we had bought this RV. August moved in. So living in Betty White now, that was a major change. That was new. I live in an RV now. I live in a fifth wheel now.
And
I
love
what's
that
the
it's
size?
famous
What's the
Betty
size
White.
of your fifth wheel? How big is it?
Of course you would ask me that.
Isn't
I
it
will
something
be.
like a
Yes,
30,
easy.
35, 34 footer or something like that?
Yeah, it's 32, 34 feet, and of course like 8 feet, but then we've got extensions. Our kitchen extension is in right now because I have to fix the roof a bit, but it's with everything out, it's under 400 square feet.
And you've always been in favor of, you've always looked at the possibility of like tiny home
Tiny
living. So
homes.
this is a sort of transition.
This is
toward
a
that
dream come
possibility.
true. Yeah.
Interesting. What other, so yeah, and we had an opportunity to go and actually spend time a weekend with you, because you and Dustin threw yourselves an RV warming party. You had a big turnout for that.
Yeah.
We did have a big turnout.
You
I
had
don't
like
think you expected
35
that many people. To
people.
actually
I mean,
show
it was a big sitting out in the field outside of your RV.
Oh, okay.
And,
So not inside the RV.
Can
well,
you
she gets
imagine?
tours.
I did tours. Everybody got a tour.
2 at a time.
It's-
Yeah,
Welcome
about
to our
that.
space.
About that.
Yeah.
But so what else besides the your move to the RV?
Oh, and my sister-in-law Adele asked me if I could accompany her to her Trek convention, Trek Long Island. So I was a Trekkie with her, and I was kind of her bodyguard until I got sick. So I didn't get to bodyguard as much as I wanted to. But yeah, so that's her. That's
That is
Adele
adorable.
Shepherd.
We
and-
actually did a full episode, didn't we, Chelan, about your New York misadventures?
we did
Because
the
there were
misadventures in
some,
New York.
but it was still a highlight. I mean, it
I
was
had a
all
great
positive.
time. I had a great time having adventures. Once the crying was done
Yeah,
over being at
but-
the wrong airport, I had a
Yeah.
great time.
And the whole
and the
hotel
wrong
thing.
hotel.
The wrong hotel.
But we won't go into all of that. But you not only were at the Trek convention in Long Island, but you guys also spent time in Manhattan and
Yeah. So I love this picture because we just stumbled. We were just wandering New York. It was great. It was like we were locals, just like, oh, let's
just walking.
go shopping at a shopping center in New York. Never done that before. We wandered into like, oh, St. Malachi's, the Actors Chapel. Jesus, I trust in you. That's very accurate.
Especially after an audition, at Capital Call auditions, like,
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm trusting.
Yeah, and
Jesus is
God, I
like,
hope
break
I
a
get
leg.
it. I hope I get it. And then what's the other picture there?
She and I are at Central Park at the
That's the
Carousel,
carousel.
The carousel in
which
Central
neither of
Park.
us had been on.
Oh, you hadn't gone on that? You guys didn't go? Oh.
Well, no, we had never done it before, so we did it this time.
Yeah.
When you went with Mom and Dad, did you guys go to Central Park?
We did go to Central Park, but I didn't ride the carousel.
Didn't ride the carousel.
Where did you get that picture of me?
So I
he's not
understand,
available.
just going to put this disclaimer out there. I understand that this is the famous naked cowboy in
famous
Times
naked
Square.
cowboy. I was
And
far
I
away from him,
understand
but
that
he
his
found
guitar
me.
may be considered controversial. We're going to skip that controversy.
Yeah, that's the
There's a lot
controversy.
of other controversy.
Yeah, there's plenty of other
covered
controversy around
in
this guy, but
photo.
he's been doing this for years. He's a tourist attraction, etc. You also provided a little video that I'm going to put up here. Now, we aren't going to be able to hear our microphones while I show this video, but I'm going to show it and then have you explain it, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now, before you explain, I know. Before you explain, I'm just wondering if anybody has a guess where that was taken. It was a very noisy environment, but I'm just curious if anybody has any thoughts about. That's right. He's not really naked, by the way.
No, I'm not.
So, anybody have a guess what the venue was where that little brief video was taken? And Karissa and Christopher, you can make a guess if you'd like to.
I'm waiting.
I
was
would
very excited because I know.
Right.
I was very excited.
Okay. You don't get to guess.
I'm not saying.
If I had to guess, I would guess the restaurant in Central Park where Rick Moranis tried to get in Ghostbusters.
And what's that called, Chelan?
Is it true? Is that it?
Yeah.
The Tavern on the Green. Yeah.
Tavern on the Green. That's right. I knew that.
Down, and I didn't know it had reopened.
I thought it closed for good, but apparently it was reopened under new management. And I was like, this was a thing that I thought I'd never get to do in New York. So it cost way too much, but it was worth it to us. We had a great time. The sun went down. We went out into the bar area out there and got to listen to beautiful live jazz music. It was just, we made an evening of it. It was great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. Who brought the dog?
Who brought the
For the sake of time, Chelan, you also had we had a little trip during the summer.
Yes. We went to Vegas. I got my headshots taken.
And
it was 100
in Zone
we saw
B4.
some of the attractions there. We went to the Sphere and saw an amazing immersive show. We spent time.
That's Tetris.
That was Tetris.
Yeah. But
it's now I can say I've been there. I'd never been there before.
Yeah, it was an amazing. We did a variety of things while we were there for that week. But that was for you a highlight of the year as well?
It was a major thing this year.
Primarily because who was there with you?
Poppy, which means there are certain things you don't do in Vegas with your Poppy. So we had a different kind of trip, I think, than most first timers in Vegas, if I may.
You didn't gamble and go to a strip club?
I think my first time in Vegas will be a lot like your first time in Vegas.
We tried just to see if we could make the slot machines work, and we found out some of them were very confusing. But
Dad won money. I lost money, so it evened out.
That's Vegas.
It kind of evened out. That's about right. So, and I know you got some other things you can talk about, but again, I kind of want to let everybody make sure they can share. And again, an encouragement to those of you tuning in to continue to share some of your highlights. Some of you have posted some things. Karissa, you had some as well. And it's interesting that a lot of ours have to do with travel or going to places, but those are obviously going to be highlights if you have that opportunity. What are some of yours, Karissa?
So early in the summer, I had the opportunity to come up to Seattle. My dad brought, the boys were visiting, my two sons, my two eldest were visiting my parents in Spokane. And so my dad popped them in the car and brought them to Seattle, and they did not know that I was also going to join them. So I got to surprise the boys in Seattle, and we got to go to Pike Place, and they had never been there. They've never been to Seattle. And we also got to go to the Space Needle, which was super fun. I also took the boys to the zoo. I had never been to the zoo in Seattle.
Good.
So that was really cool. And then before we all left town, we actually went to Christopher and my mom's and my cousin's college campus at Northwest.
We did.
University
now.
Showed them around where some of their family members had gone
kind
to
of
school.
checked out the campus. But what else did we get to do?
We got to hang out with some of my dad's family that we actually, for only being 3.5 hours away from where we've lived most of our lives, we haven't spent as much time with them as
we don't get to see them that often.
I know, it's silly. I don't know why we do that, but it's like when you live someplace and you never go to the tourist areas. It's kind of like that. So we got to
I like that Aunt Mary Kay is still laughing. LOL.
She
Am I
is
right?
LOL. She just
funny.
it's an ongoing.
And the boys just loved her. I mean, they just gravitated right to that side of the family. It was a really fun, just really chill, laid back trip. I think one of my favorite parts was having the boys' caricatures done at Pike Place. That was really cool.
Here, we'll share those. They're hanging up at our house.
Yeah, I love those. So that was the first highlight of the year, I'd say. Yeah, and then we got to do, for the first time in a long time, Jason and the girls and I came and we got to actually spend the 4th of July with the boys. Usually they are back in California by that point, I think, or just schedules haven't worked out. Or just
getting ready to come and visit the way the schedule works.
Yeah, so we actually got to do 4th of July with the boys this year, and Chelan and Dustin. Dustin made an appearance, right? Wasn't that when Dustin?
Oh, he showed up. He
popped up.
He showed
up. So that was really, really fun to be able to spend. And oh my gosh, the girls had such a great time with the boys. Carson and Remy just spent the whole time making TikToks. And I would like to say, Remy, when we walked in the door, first thing he said is, I made something for you guys. I made an escape room. This child had worked for what, like a week and a half on?
Oh, longer than that. He'd been working for weeks doing research online and setting up. And you can't see the setup. It's behind those double doors.
Behind the doors there.
In what we call the kid cave, which is the playroom for the kids. And it was, and as you can see, Chelan was also there.
No, I'm not. I think the internet is messing with the internet.
The internet's messing with
the internet's just messing. We're here. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was impressive. He actually did for just having to deal with makeshift stuff that we actually had in the house. He created a very impressive escape room that took you guys probably 25 minutes to work through, and everybody, because it was Karissa, Chelan, Carson, and Summer who were in the escape room. Yeah, and it took all of you. You each at different times contributed information that helped to get you out of there.
I was 5 impressed. That boy has a career in escaping rooms.
It was brilliant. He even had contingencies for like when we were on the wrong track on how to handle it.
Yeah, there were some plans for that. Hi, Carson. So Christopher, you had some adventures this year too, and I think you're on mute. You're on mute at the moment.
Okay, that was a test because I've been muting myself to cough, and I tried to mute myself to let Nicholas know that the internet was being the internet, and then you guys heard me, and I wasn't sure if I was muting myself or if everybody was listening to me sniffle and cough. Sorry. So one of my highlights this year was our Spokane trip over the summer. Got to bring Nicholas and got to bring, for those of you who don't know, because I'm bad at social media, this is Amy. Amy and I have been seeing each other for a little over a year now. She's fantastic, and I adore her, and I wanted to bring her to, she got to come to Spokane last Christmas for a few days with us, but I really, really, really wanted to bring her for a summer trip to do. This was a little authentic English pub that we found in Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene.
That was I don't remember if we've been there before.
You had
I don't
not.
think we
I know Dad
you had, Dad had, that's right. But this place
and I went there. Dustin and I found it.
Yeah, that's right.
A couple of years ago, and then I've taken Mom there since too. We went there for her birthday luncheon.
Yes. So it was really, really cool. Amy and I both really like Coeur d'Alene. Amy fell in love with it.
It's a cool little city.
It's a very cool little place. And then we also got to go to Silverwood, which we had all been to before, but Amy had never been. And I don't have any pictures, but one of the great things about Silverwood, in addition to the amazing roller coasters that Amy will not go on for the most part because they're scary.
She did go on. She went on one or two with you, and I went on a couple with you.
Yeah, she went on one with me. There's one, I don't remember the name of it, but it's scary as heck.
Chelan, which one is that? Unmute yourself.
Afterburner?
No, there's
I don't remember the
Tidal
name
Wave?
of it, but it's the one that made me sick.
Yeah, is it Tidal
no.
Wave? Is it something like
I
that?
thought
There's one roller coaster there that I don't remember the name of it, but you sit under the track, so you're hanging, and you start the ride going, the floor drops out, and you go backwards straight up, and you hang there, and then it launches you through. Aftershock? Is it Aftershock? It might be Aftershock.
Maybe Aftershock.
Anyway,
but yeah.
But in addition to that, there's also a water park.
Yes, there is.
Element of Silverwood, and they have a lazy river, and so there's inner tubes and things that you can float around in, and we've got lots of pictures of us, including Nicholas
floating through the water on his inner tube.
My internet may have cut out here again.
No, you're good. You're there.
Can't tell.
The squid hat.
Everyone disappeared. Hey, you're coming back. Okay.
Yeah, you're there. You were there. The promo pictures
okay, good.
Is a squid hat that I got at Silverwood, or that Dad got at Silverwood.
Yes,
the picture of you that was in the promos with the squid hat. Yes,
the squid hat is a. That's right, and I believe it's a Silverwood exclusive.
It is.
So that was one of my highlights, was our Spokane trip during the summer, and then also I got a new car.
What is your car's name?
So this is my first Jeep, and we decided that Amy went with me to buy it, and we've decided that it is equal parts sexy and preppy. So its name is Chadwick Weston Renegade, because it's a Jeep Renegade, the third.
Mm-hmm.
Chadwick Weston Renegade the third.
Now you can't say that every time you're getting in the car. Does it have a nickname?
Well, several. We call him Chadwick. We call him Chatty Wagon.
Because you two are so adorable. So I get it.
That's right.
Christopher, did you know that your Jeep actually has a theme song?
So as part of becoming a Jeep owner, first of all, this is a 6-speed turbo. So
you had to learn where the gears were for one thing.
It's manual?
So it is a manual. So a fun fact, there's not many cars that have this, but Amy and I took it for a test drive. This is my first car with a backup camera built in. Mm-hmm. So I decided I wanted to park and reverse and figure out how the backup camera looked. Well, first of all, if you've driven a manual transmission, you'll know that on the shift knob, it has the layout of the gears. Mm-hmm. And I'm used to a 5-speed where reverse is like in the bottom right corner. Well, in a 6-speed, sixth gear is in the bottom right corner and reverse is in the upper left corner. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to avoid reverse, and I was trying to find where I put the car into first gear. I was burning the clutch out on the test drive, and I stalled it 3 times trying to get out of the dealership parking lot, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I was like, I don't know what's wrong with it. I mean, this is a fun looking little car, but I don't know if if I can buy a car if it's going to smell like that, and I'm going to kill it before I even get it out of the driveway. And then we get to a little park, and I'm trying to reverse, and I keep putting it in reverse, and it's going forward like it's in first gear. I'm like, that feels like first gear. First of all, not burning out the clutch. So that's probably a positive sign, but how do I reverse the darn thing?
Didn't you look at the shifter? Did you look?
Going by
I looked
instinct.
at the shifter. I looked at the shifter, and I mean, like, Amy and I were looking through the manual and almost in a panic because we had a 15-minute time limit on this test drive. The people don't go with you. You you sign a form and then you have 15 minutes. They're tracking you. So I'm in a panic. I'm like, oh no, we're stuck. Her dad is very good with cars, so we ended up calling her dad, and he's on speakerphone trying to figure out, like, how do we get this car in reverse? Are we going to have to push this thing out of the... Come to find out, there is a reverse lock. It's a little sleeve under the shift knob that you have to pull up, and when you pull up and put it into first gear, that's where you get reverse.
That's why
so it was a
you don't accidentally get reverse. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was a fun little test drive. I did end up
driven.
I did end up getting the car. And I've had to learn many things, including the Jeep wave. If you pass a Jeep, you have to wave at them, and there's all this protocol. If you're the Jeep, you wave first. If yours is the cleaner Jeep, you wave first. There's all sorts of protocol.
Hey,
there's everything about ducks.
You also have one more highlight, even though we don't have pictures for it. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, really quick. I started a new job the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The week of Thanksgiving. I was approached by a friend who knew somebody who knew somebody, and it's a construction company based out of Myrtle Point, Oregon, and they have locations in several states, and they needed somebody to be their IT and security guy. And they drove down from Myrtle Point to take me to lunch here in Reading. At which point I said, I guess they're kind of serious.
They're kind of serious. Yeah, one would think.
Yeah.
So you just started that job less than a month ago.
Yeah, I started the week of Thanksgiving, and I'm still getting my feet under me. And the people I'm working with are really great. And this job allows me to work remote, which means that I get to spend more time with Nicholas, and I get to, when Nicholas is not with me, I get to spend more time with Amy and her boys, and there's some travel involved. In fact, I just found out day before yesterday, that they're going to have me up there a day or two next week. But yes, Chelan, will you be driving to meet me?
No, I just want to know, have you pointed at Myrtle yet?
Not really. There we go.
Yes.
Well,
I had to get my directions.
I love the highlights that, I mean, there's several, and I need to share mine really quick here, but we've talked about the fact that a lot of the highlights do have to do with travel, and so do mine. Kathy already mentioned this, I think, in the chat. And mine overlap a little bit with some of yours. I'm not mentioning Las Vegas. I'm not mentioning Seattle. I'm not mentioning just the 4th of July and the summer trip by Christopher, even though I was involved in those. And those are highlights of mine. But to limit mine, I'm kind of focusing on some things that were maybe didn't include at least the other three of you so much. But I had an opportunity at the early part of this year in the spring with Carla and Kathy and my brother Scott and Kathy's husband Rod to travel to Croatia, where our dad was born, in Zagreb. And we spent some time in Zagreb, and then Carla and Scott and I branched off and went to Dubrovnik for a few days while Rod and Kathy took some time, just the lovely married couple, to go to Venice, Italy. And then we all met back up in Rome and spent time in Rome before going over to the island of Sardinia and spending a few days there. But definitely, highlights in terms of just being able to travel. I'd been to both Croatia and Italy before, but I think sometimes what creates the highlight is not just the experience, you going to a place or doing a thing, but it's who you're doing it with, right? When you get to do things with family or friends, that makes a big difference. And in addition to that trip, now this one, it was more of a professional trip, but I was in Washington, D.C. in the later spring as part of to attend a gala event and some other events with an organization that I do a lot of work with, that we featured on this show before, the Saber 6 Foundation. And they were having their big gala event, and I was there in an official capacity. This is me after the ceremony itself, or after the gala, with Dick Gephardt, who was a member of Congress, who was a candidate for president at one point, and has served in a variety of roles in the government. He's now retired, but he runs a consulting firm, but an amazing man, and the opportunity to meet him and meet others. We got to go to Arlington for some special ceremonies, including being able to officially tour the downstairs barracks area at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, where
I didn't know you got to do that. I didn't get invited.
Yeah, you didn't get invited. And we got to see a special concert by the official fife and drum corps that plays at all of the inauguration and different things. And they did a private concert for us. So that was really cool. I don't have all those pictures on here, but Chris, I'll share them with you and brag about that later.
Yeah,
and then we got to take another trip this year. And again, talk about doing things with family and friends. Carol and I got to do a trip back to England with our dear friends Scott and Jody Platt, and it was a dream of theirs. They had never been there. Scott had a couple of things specifically he wanted to do in England. It had to do with our timing to some degree, including he wanted to
visit the Ministry of Magic.
Yes, he wanted to, because he is magic, but he wanted to pose in as many red telephone booths as he could. We got quite a few of those pictures, and go to an official competitive jousting tournament in Arundel, which we also featured on this show. We talked about that a few weeks ago and interviewed people who organized that. It's the other fun thing about traveling is I make connections with people that, I don't travel enough. You're right, Carla. We've got more planned for this next year, so that will be fun. But it's just amazing to go. And anytime I get to do something with Carol, it's particularly fun. And anytime I get to do anything with any of my kids. And so we do look for those opportunities to visit, to get together, to travel together, whatever we might want to do. So we've asked already, but as we get ready to close things out here today, I'm just curious, from those who've tuned in, what are your other highlights from this year? What have been the things in 2024 that you'll look back on, or that you know, those memory making, sometimes once in a lifetime or life event types of things that you hang on to and you look back and they become your mental yearbook? We actually create memory books every year. I create for Carol every Christmas a memory book that has photos and memories from the year past of all the things that we've done, and try to include those highlights. But do you agree, guys? I mean, I think that making memories, it's important. You know, we don't. It's wonderful now that we have things like cell phones that capture pictures and they stay in the cloud, or social media where we can share these things. But for me, a lot of it is just getting together with people. Like, we can sit down here and some of the things we've done together over the past year, to not only show pictures, but to talk about, just say, remember when that moment happened, and to all be able to share those experiences together. And I don't know if you have any final thoughts, any of you, about just experiences from at any time, but the idea of creating those memories and those highlights. Chelan, you look thoughtful.
Just that I am grateful for the ability to capture them, because my brain is such. Dustin asked me the other day, you remember when we did this? And I'm like, no, I don't. So I am grateful for the pictures and the images. Having said that, they will never take the place of a good inside joke. True.
We have a lot of those.
Don't Annoy Kanoi as a great one
from our Hawaii trip years ago.
Yeah. So, like,
not an inside joke for me. I wasn't on that trip.
I was there.
No, we'll afterwards we'll share pictures and brag about it to you, Chris. Well, listen, we are coming down to the end of time here. Not the end of all time, but I mean the end of our time on the end of time.
There have been UFO sightings. It could be the end.
You don't know. Yeah, there have been UFO and drone sightings and all kinds of things. So
they've always been there. They just didn't want to admit it.
No, but this year they're saying, you know what? What the heck? Why not? But I do want to let you know what's coming up. And the reality is that we're actually taking a break. the next 2 weekends because it's the holiday season. And next Saturday, in fact, during this time, Carol and I will be on a flight back home to get back to Spokane for the holidays. And the Saturday after that, we've got family in town, and we're just taking a break. So we're going to give you a break too. We do ask that you continue to think about wonderful as you go through these next couple of weeks. Just do take the time to think about what the special moments are that you want to remember. You know, we look ahead to the new year, but it's also good to kind of look back. And I just once again want to invite all of you, if you have topics, if you have guest ideas for Coffee Breaks with Steve that you'd like to share with us, please send us an email at cbwsteve@comcast.net so we can start that conversation. Got some ideas already as we get into the new year. We're getting some people lined up for the new year. And even though we're taking a couple of weeks off, I've got to hit the virtual pavement and get some confirmations in place for some of those guests so that when we do get to the beginning of next year, I'm not twiddling my thumbs sitting here staring at the camera all alone. Or I'm bringing three of you back, and maybe the next episode is what the highlights that we're hoping to have in, I don't know, in 2025.
What are we looking forward to?
Predictions?
What are our predictions? Yeah, just a reminder, we've been on the air now for over 5.5 years. We're going to be coming up on our 6th anniversary in the spring of 2025. 253 episodes as of today, 122 of those with guests, and 87 unique individuals have joined us as guests on Coffee Breaks with Steve. It's special to me. I put that up there because it humbles me to realize just how much we've been able to accomplish. And that's because not only the guests that come on the show, but all of you who are willing to tune in and be a part of the conversation around our virtual coffee table. And just a reminder that if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, would you please go over there and do that? We're putting the link in the chat right now so that you can find it, although it's not that difficult to find. You can go over to YouTube and put Coffee Breaks with Steve in the search, and it's going to bring up our channel. And if you've already subscribed, would you please share the channel, share the link with your friends, your colleagues, the people in your network who you think would want to tune in and enjoy some of the special guests, the topics that we share on a regular basis, because it's not about me sharing my voice and my face. It's about the special things that we get to do, the special people we get to bring on the show, and the relationships that are built as a result. So thank you for that. Listen, I want to say thank you to Christopher, Karissa, and Chelan again for being here today, but also being such a vital part of this show on a regular basis. And to all of you once again, as we come to the end of this year, the last episode of this year, a very, very special thank you to all of you who tune in, whether you tune in live or you tune in later on. You are what makes this show worthwhile. And to all the guests who have been on throughout 2024, we featured a number of them last week as we did our guest updates episode, but so many others who have also joined us, and just a special, special thank you. And a reminder to everybody that you know, whether it's trying to figure out if the aliens are really coming or it's something else, as we get into the rest of this holiday season and the end of the year, we start looking forward to next year, we can all be advocates, we can all be ambassadors, we can all be agents of change. So please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless you. Have a great week. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you in the new year.